Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Telka Clem, and I will be sharing today about our NAV quality management product. So let's jump into NAV. This is the question set that we've been working with a little bit, the PRSET001. And then I tell the system how am I going to create check sheets. If it's blank, it's going to be one check sheet per receipt. If it's per lot number, it'll be per lot. If it's serial number, it'll be per serial number. When I create a measurement for an incident, I get a measurement header, and then I get lines. If I have told it that I want to create check sheets for each serial number, I would have multiple lines on that check sheet, one for each serial number that I'll be testing. I also have a due date formula here. It's set to 2 days on this measurement template, but I can set it either as quick or as long as I would like it. This is telling us we have 2 days to complete this test. I want to log the interaction. I can print the check sheet automatically or use the screens on NAV. And then this is connection to the workflow in NAV to then trigger this process. My rating down here, you will see that I've got some ranges of what I consider good, average, and bad. This is used for reporting purposes, but you'll notice that I've got it set 35, 40, 20, 35, 0, 20. These aren't correct anymore. I did some changing and manipulating of the weight and the scores of my questions, and so my total max score now can be 650. So I want to adjust these ratings, and I'm going to say from 600 to 650 would be good, maybe from 550 to 600 would be average, and then everything from 0 to 550 is not going to be acceptable. This will be information that would be stored about the check sheet that you could then report on down the road. After we have our questions, our list, our sets, and our measurement templates created, I can start assigning these measurement templates to items in the system. And if you use the pricing in standard NAV at all, it's kind of similar to that in that we have a lot of options the way to assign these triggers. First off, all items have an item category. Let me pull up an item list here. And you'll notice that for a few of these items, I have gone ahead and given them a category of component. Item category is just a way for us to be able to filter on items and be able to report on them, but it's also a way for us to trigger in quality management off of the category of an item. So if I go to my item category templates, you can see that for my components, I want to use my PUR receipt-raw template, and I can start assigning all of my item categories specific templates. Now, I can be very specific here. I can say a component from a specific vendor number, or when I'm doing production, I can say if I'm building furniture for a certain customer, I want to do certain testing. So I've got a lot of flexibility here based on my item category. But NAV doesn't stop there. It breaks it down even further in that I also have the ability to assign measurement templates to items. Just as typical NAV is, if I have an item category set, but I also then come in on top and I say, for this item category, I want to do this testing, but I'm being more specific. For this specific item, I want to do a testing, then it takes item measurement template first and doesn't look at the category. This is a good example. This 1320 is set to a component, but for this specific vendor, I want to do the purchase receipt raw. However, when this item number, the 1320, is any other vendor, I want to do the PUR receipt extended. And these are two different question sets. So you have a lot of control from the item number as well. I then can define specific target values. We set target values on the questions themselves, but if I have different values that I want to test on for a specific item, I can set that by the item number. So I've got a source type here for number 1000. The question, the manufacturing 001 is a Boolean question. Its standard answer, if I go to that card and look at that question, its standard answer is yes. But for item number 1000, I want to know. So I can set my target values in my question sheet specific to my items. So I think you see from all of the setup, there is quite a bit of setup, and certainly dependent on how extensive your measurement sets are, it can take some time. But once they're set up, it's set up, and it's helping you determine the quality of your products. So let's move over to the actual functionality of the testing. I'm going to go back to my home screen and use some of my really nice looking tiles here. You'll notice the tiles are active and they show me how many incidents I have up underneath them, or how many measurements or check sheets. These are all tied together. I can get to my measurements and my check sheets from my incidents, but I can also get to them from tiles. That way I can assign specific users. If I don't want them to be able to see the incident that a measurement came from, but rather just to do the measurement and the checking, then I can set up security where that's the only thing that they can see. I'm going to click into my incidents, and you're going to notice I have 3 here. And let's look at incident number 2 first. First off, I want to show you that I can always get back to where this incident came from. I know that I am testing item number 1120, and it is spokes, and the unit of measure on it is pieces. But where did this come from? This source document is a purchase receipt, and I can see that from here. I can go to show my source document. I'm in a purchase receipt line. I can navigate and get directly to the actual receipt itself. You're going to notice that on this receipt I received 50 spokes and 20 tubes. Both of those items were created to create an incident, and here are my 50 spokes and my 20 tubes, both from the same document. You'll also notice that this incident number 6, it's a black hub, and it's a source type of 3. When I go look at the source document for it, it's actually a production order. So you can see I easily can get back to the source document that created my incidents in case I need to check it for some reason. And these are the true documents, so all the information involved with the lines, the functions, and everything for the production order are here. So let me go back up to my incident number 2 here, and I want to look at my measurements for this incident. You'll notice that I have 2 measurements here. My first one I chose to fail, and my second one is the one that I'm working with now. I'm going to click on my measurement icon, go to my QM66, which is my active measurement. And when I open this up, the measurement itself is giving me a lot of information so that I can have those employees in my organization that the first thing they see are these measurement documents. They don't have to see where it came from. They don't have to see any warehousing information. They've got a lot of the information right here in front of them. Of course, NAV is going to number the document and tells you the template code that it was made from, that it triggered from, and the date that it was created. I know the document that it came from. This is my purchase receipt, the line it came from, and the date it was received. I know the table and even any subtypes or batches. This type of process doesn't have those two fields. I know the item number, and I can drill into it. If you've not used one of the later versions of NAV, this is one of the extremely strong qualities of the later versions of NAV, is that you can easily get to all sorts of things. Here's my pieces. It's spokes. It came in as a component. It came from vendor 3000. My quantity is 50. My due date for this measurement is 3/10, which is tomorrow. It is open, and it was registered on 3/8. Down at the bottom, you're going to see the measurements. Now, if I had serialized numbers, I would have multiple of these, but I only am doing one per receipt. And I can get to the card for this receipt over here to the right. I'm going to click here and go into the actual check sheet. Again, I've got a lot of my information duplicated. It is telling me the quantity that was the source quantity here was 50, but it's telling me I'm going to inspect 2.5. On the measurement template, I had given it a percentage of 5%, which is where it came up with 2.5. Of course, we can't measure 2.5, so I'm going to end up with 3 sets of questions. When I expand my questions out, I like to get rid of my general tab so that I can see a big bulk of my questions right off the top. Here we go with my packing slip list complete. Because it's a document question, I've only got it once. And then down below, I have the 2 questions for each of the 3 items that I'm going to sample. If your answer or your result that you enter here in the middle is acceptable to the measurement that you have set up, the score and the weight that you have set up, then you get an accepted status. If it's not, it turns red and you get a rejected status. Now, if I tell the question that I am going to allow it to be ambiguous, I can then manually accept that question. I am not allowing what is the diameter of the product to be ambiguous. I need it to be a certain size. However, if I did a typo and I changed this to 19.75, all of a sudden we do have an accepted testing. Because it's a score system, everything doesn't have to be accepted in order for it to meet an acceptable score. That's for you to decide what is an acceptable score for your testing. I'm going to click on OK here. When I get through with that, I'm going to record my results in my General tab. So I'm going to accept this test, and I have the ability to have reason codes. This is user definable, so I can have whatever reason codes I want. I'm going to go ahead and mark this accepted and complete the check sheet. Once I complete it, I see that I have 3 that were inspected and 3 that have been accepted. And I can click on OK. And then over here on my line for that check sheet, I get my result and my result code. I can review this, click that I approve it, release my measurement, and register it. And then it's gone out of my measurement list. Once I've measured the incident, I can open it up and I can close it or I can cancel it if I decide that it's not something I want. But this one was accepted, so I'm just going to close it. Oh, I do have that other sheet that I failed, so it's not going to let me close it before I do something with that sheet. So now if I go into my registered incidents, I see that that one that I just sent over for the spokes is here. Here is that one set of measurements that I haven't done anything with, and here's the one that I registered. The last thing I want to show you is once I have registered the measurements and the check sheets, I have a history of those. I can get to the registered check sheets, and I can always view them and see how my questions lined up for a particular batch. Or I can get to the measurements themselves, and I can go in and look at these. This measurement batch I happen to have rejected. And once I reject a measurement, then I may want to, if those are purchased items, I may want to return them. So from the registered measurement, I can create my return document. And once I do that, the return document is linked to the measurement. So I can get directly to that purchase return navigate on it. And here's the purchase return order that will now go out to the warehouse and allow them to ship the product back to our vendor. And you can also record a reason code here so that there's traceability on that as well. All of the registered information that records and the check sheets, then they don't go away. So just like NAV, there's an archive of those so that now we can either look them up or report on them and start following trends on our product quality testing. And that's where knowledge comes from. And when we have knowledge on our testing, then we're able to get better and better.